Hi there. So yesterday we had our first ever virtual meetup for PagerDuty plugin for Backstage, where we kind of brought the community together. We kind of discussed some of the new features, some of the things that we did so far. We took some time to celebrate the community, and I wanted to share a bit about what happened yesterday with you and do like a smaller version of that same meetup. And basically, I wanted to start with a little bit of our journey so far. And so this kind of shows a bit of our progress. And it basically started back in September last year when we had an initial conversation with the Backstage team that basically they wanted to find an owner for the PagerDuty plugin, and who would be the best option other than PagerDuty itself. And so we started these conversations back in September. We officially took ownership of the plugin around like late October. And we actually released the first version of the PagerDuty plugin, which was like basically a clone of what the PagerDuty folks have created under the Backstage organization. And so we launched the first version of the plugin during Backstage Con, during KubeCon Chicago in November. And so this was our initial release. This is when we started to work in a different way with users of the plugin, when we started to interact more with the Backstage community. But since then, we have kind of initially just been focusing on like some bug fixing, smaller tweaks to the plugin itself on the user experience side of things, security patching, but that was mainly it. And back in December, December 5th, actually, we released the backend service. So this was our like major release back then. We kind of took some time to kind of move all the API requests and centralize all the API requests into a backend service. At the same time, we also released a new common package or common library that would basically contain the types that were shared between the backend and front end, just to ensure that we had some standardization across the types that we were using. And so a lot of changes were introduced since this initial release on the backend plugin. And one of the coolest things that I saw while working with this plugin and bringing new features to the plugin is actually the involvement of the community, the collaboration in many different aspects, right? Not only the code base, but also like contributing to the docs, contributing to feature requests and bugs and reporting bugs to us. So this has been really great to see. And so one of the highlights of this entire project to me is actually like going back into February when we had our first community contribution to the code base, which actually showed us that okay, people are really interested in bringing their features. They are actually customizing the plugin for their own use cases, and so there's a chance there that people actually want to contribute to the project itself, and kind of invest a bit of their time trying to share what they built with others. So that was really important to me personally. And that's the number of contributions has only grown up to this day. And so all of these kind of led up to the first meetup that we had yesterday. And yeah, it was really good to see like some faces and names that I already knew, but others that were new to the community. They are users not actively contributing to the plugin, which is also an option and also good. But it was good to see some of the familiar faces there. So basically, I want to go into kind of showcasing some of the features that we basically built in the meantime to kind of show a bit of the progress of the plugin. And so here on the left, you see like how the plugin looked like when it was owned by Backstage. And this is an example, like a very simple example of how it would look like. It would allow you to list all the incidents, see who's on call, create incidents, and navigate to the incidents directly. But now on the right, you see like what we evolved to, right? So there's still a lot of work to do, but we have kind of dedicated some time to the plugin and making sure that it kind of fits different use cases. And that's why we have now two plugins or two different PagerDuty cards instead of having just one. And so even those two cards that we have, they are configurable. So if you want to kind of hide the on-call section or the change events section, or if you want to completely hide the insight section on the smaller card, you can do that. You can choose whether you want to open to allow users to open incidents directly in PagerDuty or not. So it's really up to you to decide. And we are kind of on our journey to make all of these much more flexible, as you will see when we discuss the roadmap. And so if you look into the progress in terms of like the capabilities and the packages, different types of packages that we have like the front end plugin now, we have the back end plugin, we have a common library as well, and we have recently launched the scaffolder actions, which is a backend module that we have released. And I'll just kind of go very quickly on what these provide. So on the front end side, you still have like the same capability to list incidents and recent changes and actually see who's on call. But on top of that, we added the capability for you to see like relevant service metrics, to quickly check the service status with proper color coding and all that. And we had information as well on service standards, right? So now you see if you are being compliant or not, or if the service is actually being compliant or not with the service standards defined by the organization. On the backend plugin, as I mentioned, so this is part of our journey to kind of improve security, to kind of centralize our requests to the APIs. And also, we are kind of focusing on making sure that from a data optimization point of view, we are doing some work there as well to make sure that performance is there in the plugin, right? So the common library I already mentioned, it basically contains like all the common types across different libraries, so we can enforce some standards and avoid some basic errors that typically happen when you have like types being created in different projects that might not match. And then we have the scaffolder actions, which is, as I said, we released it recently. And scaffolder actions were already there, but they were included in the backends plugin. But we recently added support for the new Backstage backend system, which kind of forced us to extract the scaffolder actions to a different backend module. So now you can leverage the new backend system and still leverage the legacy one. But if you are doing that, then you need to use the new scaffolder actions module. That's the only thing that actually changes. And so we started with the front end plugin, and now we have like all of these different components that will allow us to go forward in a more structured way and with less changes for our users, I believe. The next thing that I wanted to share is a bit some of the metrics that we have been collecting since we took ownership of the plugin. And so first release was back in November 6, 2023. And since then, we have done like 42 releases across all packages. But we had like 42 releases since then, which is, I believe, a lot for a very small project. But we are seeing a lot of contribution from multiple places. And so we have like 42 releases. We also have, at this point in time, over 100,000 downloads across all packages once again. We have been seeing an increase in number of PagerDuty accounts that have integrations enabled with PagerDuty and Backstage, between PagerDuty and Backstage. And we are now at 279 PagerDuty accounts with Backstage integration, which is, since we took ownership, is a 14% increase in the number of PagerDuty accounts. And there's like a huge increase on the number of integrations, which means that customers are actually adopting Backstage, or PagerDuty customers are actually adopting Backstage, and they are making sure that all their services have integrations and they are mapped in PagerDuty and Backstage, and they have this kind of relation, so you can easily move back and forth, or actually query and access all the information from PagerDuty inside of Backstage. So one other thing that I really wanted to highlight here is the number of community contributions, right? And here I'm not talking only about contributions to the code base, but I'm also talking about contributions to the docs, to feature requests, kind of surfacing bugs that people have found in the product. And so all of these kind of add up to 30% in like all contributions to different packages, to the different parts and components of these projects. So thank you so much for that. It's really important to have these community contributions, is a kind of recognizing the effort that we are putting into this plugin. Is also very important to have these contributions, because it allows us to go much faster and with a lot more information and a lot of different perspectives that typically, if we were the only ones kind of contributing, we wouldn't have. Right? So thank you so much for these contributions. And as a segue on this topic, I wanted to highlight some of the community members that have actually contributed with features, that have actually contributed with any of these that I mentioned before, like changes to the code base, raising bugs that they have identified, and changes to docs. So thank you so much. I hope I didn't forget anyone. If I did, I'm so sorry, and I'll fix it in the next one. But basically, we have, as you can see, we have contributions from few folks there. So thank you so much. All the success for this plugin is also on your contributions, and so thank you so much for that, and for supporting me and PagerDuty to take this forward. Now I wanted to kind of look a bit into the future. And so one of the things that I did recently is actually to make public the project that we had on GitHub. So you'll be able to see like all the different features that we are working on, and the ones that are basically in our backlog. And one thing that I did very recently was to create a roadmap as well based on those features, because one of the main parts of my job when interacting with customers that are using PagerDuty was to actually explain the features that we are working on, our strategy, where we are going next. And so hopefully this is a way to kind of scale those efforts and make sure that this is available for everyone to see. If you have any questions, I will still be able to answer them. But if you want like a quick answer, this is probably it. And so basically going forward, we are trying to like improve the user experience. And so one of the things that we want to do is, and that we are actively working on, is to basically enable easy onboarding for existing services. And by using the scaffold directions that we released a few months ago, you can easily and on the process of creating a new service in Backstage, you can create a new service in PagerDuty as well, and enable the or generate an integration key, map that into the configuration of the Backstage service, and that's it, right? One step, you have all the configurations that you need to make sure that this connection between Backstage and PagerDuty is there. But for existing services, this doesn't solve the problem, right? And so we are actively working on a way to enable you to easily map a lot of services at the same time with existing services in Backstage. So this is our focus for the next few weeks. But then we have a few other things that we are working on. So the next one is basically working on adopting the Backstage community plugin standards. I don't know if you saw this, but the Backstage team has basically released a new Backstage community repo where all the community provided plugins are going to be migrated there. And we are not migrating there. We are still maintaining our plugin under the organization, but I want to make it pretty straightforward for people that are already contributing to Backstage plugins to do the same for the PagerDuty plugin without much difference, right? This will allow us to kind of standardize on the best practices that the Backstage team is enforcing on their side, because they are doing things that we are not currently in our plugin, and it would also allow us to be more efficient in the way that we release new versions of the plugins, because currently every single plugin for us or every single package for us is a different repo, right, in GitHub. And so there are some changes that require a lot of syncing, and this takes a lot of time and a lot of effort from our side. And so if we follow the community plugin standards, this means that we are going to move into a monorepo structure. We'll still have the same packages being generated, but we'll be moving into a monorepo structure, which will allow us to kind of be more efficient in the way that we release new features into like the different parts of the plugin. So next, we are basically going to add support for new features and new cards, right? So one of the features that we had recently requested was to add multiple support for multiple PagerDuty accounts, which is not possible to do with a plugin today. And so this is a scenario that was discussed in the thread of this specific issue. It's after consulting with different customers and with our internal sales team, is actually a scenario that is more common than I thought, specifically in larger accounts. And so this is one of the scenarios that we are kind of prioritizing, just to make sure that we can have like a PagerDuty card that actually supports multiple accounts. We will do the same for teams. So instead of having an annotation per service, you'll be able to have an annotation for a specific team, and you'll be able to list all the services, or list information on all the services that belong to that specific team. And we will do the same thing for allowing a list of services instead of a single service. So this is basically where we are going as new features for the next few releases. And the last thing that we have here on the roadmap is about migrating the front-end components to Material UI 5. This is something that has been on my backlog for a while. I actually started the work on this one some time ago, but then I had to stop because other priorities kind of changed. And basically Material UI 6 is already in the like beta version. And so it's work in progress, and we are still using version 4. So I definitely want to step up on this one and move to version 5, because there are a few changes on the way that we integrate with themes that people are using on the Backstage, on their Backstage instance. So it's definitely something that we need to do. So as I said, the roadmap is available. These are like open issues on GitHub. If you feel like we should change the priority to something else, or if you want to raise other concerns on some of the implementation suggestions that we have there, please comment the issues. We are open to feedback. And yeah, if all the priorities that you have here and the dates, they are not written in stone, so they might change depending on priorities changing as well. So, but this is just a way to provide you some visibility on what we are working on and what we are going to work on next. So, and that's basically it. So thank you so much for your time. If you attended the meetup, thank you once again for being there. And we will probably host the next one in September because we aim to do this quarterly. So thank you so much for your time. And yeah, see you in the next meetup.